Haven't I YouTube? Haven't I iTube? I'm full of thanks for everyone who is tuned into this channel. More life, more peace, more abundance, more harmony and balance to all of you. In this video, I just want to share a few of the many realizations that I have come to during my transition or during my journey or process of unlocking heaven within myself. Something that I have learned, especially in a life or on a path where you're living, striving to live, you're living a more indigenous lifestyle, more in tune or more aligned with nature, with the earth, with the planet, with the land, is that people will, or what appears to be other people, will have different expectations of you, or they will project their different ideas or their different images or thoughts on who they think you are or who they think you should be based on their level of understanding. And it could be something as simple as seeing me with what people may call freeform locks, or Rasta locks, dreads, whatever people want to call it these days. Somebody may look at me and simply just automatically assume that I'm Jamaican, or they may, are you Rasta? Or they may think you smoke ganja all day, listen to reggae, all these different things. That is something very simple, but even with that, I do not identify as with any of those things. But just based off of an appearance or how you may speak, somebody may put a certain expectation on you. And because, like I said, I don't identify as, for example, Rasta. If I go around in a crowd or something, and I don't carry myself maybe how people would think a Rasta is supposed to carry it, a Rasta female or a Rasta in general was supposed to carry themselves, then I'm breaking their expectations. Or if I go around a group of people and I say, no, I'm not Rasta because of how my so-called hair looks, I'm breaking the expectation. I've seen it. It's like a glitch. Are you Rasta? No. Huh? What do you mean? So it's like people will have certain expectations that you can't be afraid to break. That's a realization that something that I already knew, and I never really held myself to it too strongly when I was in the world. Though at this point on the journey, it's just like I've learned or have cultivated a certain level of acceptance for myself, a certain level of patience, and detachment. Detachment in the sense of not being attached. I'm not even attached to the idea that I have so-called freeform locks. I'm not even attached to the idea that I live in so-called Africa. None of those things really exist to me. I don't resonate with those ideas anyway. I don't identify as certain things. Meaning, I could be, how can I explain simply? Not saying that I would do this, though if there's a piece of my hair that's coming out, or if, let's say, I cut my hair, it's not going to make me feel bad, or it's not going to make me cry. I'm not going to be stressed out and worried. It's just, it's life. You know, it's just like if you see a plant, if you see a tree, the leaves, they shed, they fall. It happens. I'm not attached to, oh my God, my hair has to be perfect. It has to look like this, has to look like that. It is what it is. It happens. And that's something else that I've come to the realization of. My next point, this idea of hair and freeform locks, living how I live, it just shows me that a lot of the things that we hold dearly to ourselves or we praise, or we even condemn, are really just all things that we don't fully understand. And they're really just all things that stem from the origin or the source of life. Example, my favorite quote by one of my favorite authors, Alice Walker, is, "What the mind doesn't understand, it worships or fears." Freeform locks. Somebody might look at this idea of freeform locks or keys, hair. Somebody may look at this and think, you look unkept, you look dirty, you look nasty, you don't look like you do this, or you don't look however you're supposed to look as a human, based on their idea of what attractiveness is, hygienic looks are, all of these different things. On the other hand, somebody may look and be like, they may praise it and worship it, like, oh my God, you're so beautiful, you're so gorgeous, and this and that, your natural beauty, you're breaking the white man's standards, oh my gosh. All of that, why do we praise or condemn things that are, it's just simple, it's just life. It happens. It just happens. You don't walk by a tree and be like, oh my God, you're the most beautiful tree. Oh my God, you're the most ugliest tree. It's like, wow, it's a tree. It got leaves. Those look nice. It's it. Like, we romanticize things or we demonize it. And that's something that I've come into realization of. So even if you hear certain people on the internet, certain people in real life that live a certain way, that don't live a certain way, they do or don't do something, they're not doing anything that's special. Me speaking how I speak, living how I live, all of these things, it's not special in the sense that it's not new. Ain't nothing new under the sun. That's a fact. So I know that we've held certain things or we've cultivated certain habits in the West or in the modern world, certain ideas and constructs that we've held on to or that we've created for ourselves. Some of them are very disempowering, and I know that that's true. However, when you come into a new state of mind, not even new, but a more original state of mind and state of being, you don't want to romanticize that so that you can feel good about yourself again, so that you can feel more empowered. It's not new. We're not doing nothing that's so out of the box. It is out of the box, but it's not a new occurrence, is what I'm saying. It's not the first time. And although I did say that my family, we don't identify as what you may call Rasta. You may hear us say, I'm not Rasta, but I am. I'm not religious, but I am. That just means that we know that we're the source of all of that. So when we say things like that, doesn't mean that there's no disrespect. No disrespect to Rasta or Rastafari, no disrespect. Because really and truly, all of these new age people that you see embracing freeform locks and Rasta dread and dreadlocks and this and that, they were inspired by those people on that island, by those first indigenous men that were in the jungle, that tapped into an unlocked heaven within themselves in the jungle far. Something that was in Ethiopia first, that originated in Ethiopia first. So we deal with origins, and when you're dealing with the origin, nothing is romanticized, nothing is demonized, it just is what it is. I think that's like the biggest realization that I've come to. And when you come to that, or when I came to that, I automatically began to grow more in patience. I automatically began to grow more in discipline. I grew more in Godfidence. It's really, it's profound. What's so profound about it is that you're shifting from one place to another, and you're just like, whoa, you can see everything. You can see everything. Not even what other people are doing, but from your own self, your own process or the journey. Like, you can just see the fullness. So, yeah. Something else that I've come to realize naturally is, even when you speak about freeform locks, I hear a lot of people speaking about this, how it's empowering and empowering. Can't speak this English language like that. something that is being embraced is the beauty aspect of it, especially when it comes to females. We say things like, when I started growing my locks, a lot of people like just started flocking to me. Men were more interested in me because they just started thinking that I was so beautiful and this and that. I want to throw a reminder and a tip that when you are in the world or wherever you are, it would be wise to cover your hair when you go out. Mainly because, not just because, I also hear people say things like you cover your hair when you go out into the world or into the matrix or Babylon because you're sensitive to energies and this and that. But there's another layer. If we dealing with nature and the origin of things, it's two things I want to tell you. When it comes to these keys or these organs that's on your head, your hair is like your skin, which means it has pores. So when you're out and your hair is also like it has pores. So if it's like a plant, it's like a tree. It's like certain flowers. There are certain moments, certain times when the pores open up and they receive sunlight. And they receive the energy that's around. They receive more oxygen. They absorb more. And also they release more. So there's moments where your hair, the pores open and they release pheromones. I know everybody has heard that when you release pheromones is a part of mating. It's simple nature, it's simple math. More men aren't just attracted to you because you look beautiful. Yeah, you do. Though you're sending out a signal to all of these different males, like I'm open, I'm open. I'm wanting to receive as a feminine expression of life anyway. So that's why it's also important to cover your hair when you go out. And when covering your hair is kind of, that's it. that's the simple part about it. It's a mating thing. And also, if you're going to deal with appearance, I'm not going to act like appearance doesn't play a part into anything of how you look. I'm not going to say, oh, appearance is nothing, because if we're dealing with simple math, again, and simple nature, is always, everything matters. Okay, so my camera just cut off, but just to finalize the point that I was making, I'm not somebody that's just going to say that appearance doesn't matter, because even in the event of having, well, when you're dealing with nature and simple mathematics, when you think of mammals, there's a such thing as sexual dimorphism or sexual lifemorphism, where you're dealing with the appearance of the male and the physical appearance of the female. Certain mammals, the males, they look more intimidating. They look more scary, or intimidating is the best word, versus you have a female. She doesn't look as intimidating. She doesn't look as unruly. So you have females, we would look more beautiful. We would look more quote unquote exotic with our hair, freeform locks, keys, however you want to, whatever you want to say. We will look different than a male would look. A male would look more intimidating. Some people would look at a male and really think like, oh my God. They probably won't say much because it's expected of certain males to look a certain way, because you're dealing with the roles then of the male and the female. But I won't get too much into that. It's just, there's a simple order, there's a simple expression that we each have. So yes, looks actually do matter, appearance does matter, but it's not from the angle that we have been looking at it for so long. It's not from an angle of just being beautiful just to be beautiful. Like, it's not from a, what's the word? How humans have just been looking at things have just been kind of backwards, has like very little reasoning. But if you cite the wholeness, the fullness, then you can see the full picture. Like, everything is for mating purposes. So be very mindful when you come into this type of expression. A more indigenous or original expression is more than just a mundane beauty. It's more than a mundane appearance. That is deeper than that. So I do have that tip to cover your hair. Yes, because you can feel you're more sensitive to energy around you, but yes, you're also sitting off energy. And if you're somebody like me, I don't necessarily want a whole bunch of people flocking to me. I don't necessarily want a whole bunch of energies coming towards me. So I will keep it at a minimum. It's not gonna keep it all the way unless you're far in the forest, in the jungle, in the village, somewhere where most of us belong. Though if you're not in that type of environment, keep yourself covered. It's also very interesting what I have realized is that a lot of the religions that require their women to cover themselves and keep themselves covered, we humans, we have just flipped things and made it very we've demonized everything, not just from how we look at it and we see it as something that's disempowering, but we also have made it something that's oppressive. Like, we oppress our own selves. So we look at it like these men or this religion is oppressing the female, when really and truly they don't even understand why they require the women to cover themselves. They don't understand that it's dealing with mating, and it's just very simple things. So I hope you can see and understand what I'm saying. That's the last one I want to make, because I don't want this video to be too long. I could go on and on about the different, or the many realizations that I've had. But I'll keep it very short, as short as I can. So yeah, again, I'm full of thanks to everyone who has tuned into this channel. I hope that you can take something, or you can see something of value. I hope that you can really open your heart and hear and see what I'm saying in these videos. Yeah, until next time. Bye bye. Is she? What was the other one?